It's The Drive on ESPN Blacksburg, and a good evening to all of you. My name is Paul Van Wagoner. Brian is in the other studio. He is taking your calls at 961-1430. Well, during lunch, wide receiver Travis Rudolph, one of the Florida State players, saw a young man by the name of Bo Paskey sitting at a table by himself. Bo was a student with autism. He was eating all alone, and Paskey said to him, Rudolph said to him, "Do you mind if I sit here?" Paskey said, "Sure, why not?" So Rudolph and Paskey hung out together and had lunch. Bo's mom thought that was very cool. These are the kind of stories that I think need to get more publicity, more of this, and less Colin Kaepernick. That's just what I'm thinking.
Keep it nice.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that's really nice. We like this guy a lot. Jason Stamm joining us, Scouts.com, the VT Zone. How are you, man?
Good, Paul. I'm sorry I missed you guys. I was stuck in an elevator for a few minutes.
Oh, well, you should have answered and then just been like, "Hey, everybody, shut up. I got to do a radio thing."
Yeah, I'm sure nobody would have minded that at all.
No, okay. How do you get stuck in an elevator for a few minutes? Were you trapped, or is it just are you a skyscraper?
I'm actually at Radford University over here, and meeting with some professors, and they're doing some work, and so kind of an ongoing. It's a beautiful building they got over here at the new College of Humanities and Behavioral Sciences building. It's very pristine. Probably one of the nicest buildings you'll find anywhere in the country. So
how'd they let you in?
I'm just one of those special guys here. I don't know.
Financial aid. Financial aid is the correct answer, sir.
Right, of course.
Jason is one of the head scouts for Scouts.com. He covers Virginia Tech. If you've been listening to the show at all, you know that he's a regular with us. And as we get closer to the kickoff of the season, how much does recruiting slow down, not just at Virginia Tech, but in general? Because my thought is that Coach Fuente and the crew have liberty on the mind, and that needs to be at the forefront as opposed to who are we recruiting. Is that, in fact, the case?
Recruiting even for coaches, is pretty much a 365 job. They have their times where they're on vacation, but somebody on staff is always paying attention to recruiting. Yeah. So I will say, though, you bring up a very good point, Paul, and that's something I've mentioned to our subscribers on our board, is that there aren't going to be too many official visitors this season. I know the staff has told me they've kind of talked about it, and they feel like there's going to be plenty of unofficial visitors. But as far as guys on official visits, having somebody see the game day atmosphere and kind of everything that goes into a game is really good, and they want guys to do that. But at the same time, because, like you mentioned, there are other obligations that these coaches have in getting ready for games, going over game film. You're already on to the next game pretty much the next day.
Right.
So there's not a lot of time they can spend with these recruits when they come in on visits. And so, again, they get to see campus, they get to see the game day experience, but at the same time, they're not getting much time with coaches. Mm-hmm. And I know they prefer that these guys take their official visits at least after the season, December, January, when these coaches can really devote, plenty of time to them, going over film, showing them how they would fit in, and really, making them feel at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the players I think that's on Virginia Tech's radar right now is Riverside Baptist cornerback Tariq Castro-Fields. We've talked about him in the past. He is looking to start scheduling some visits, speaking of official visits. Is there any chance he's going to get to Virginia Tech for his official visit sometime this season?
Yeah, he's a really good possibility. I don't think he wants to wait until after the season to visit. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have guys like that, I think they're going to end up taking their visits. Whether Tariq takes an official to Virginia Tech, I'm not sure. He's been here a couple times. Well, I guess he came here just the one time in July. He was here for the Blacksburg Bash, the barbecue, and he stayed the next day for camp. So he's got a pretty good idea of Virginia Tech now, but I know they'd like to get him back on campus for an official. But yeah, I don't think he's going to wait till signing day. So a guy like that, probably you need to get on campus pretty soon. He does have Virginia Tech in his top list,
right?
So that is, they're in good shape there, but they need to continue to work him and then continue to show that all the stuff that they're telling him that's in fact true.
Do they risk falling off on some of these kids by not scheduling official visits in season, or can they make up whatever kind of, whatever steps they take backwards? Can they make up that ground by bringing them to a basketball game and kind of spending a little bit more time with them during the off-season period?
Yeah, I think that works good for the undergraduate kids. At this point, 2018, 2019, 2020. Those guys, for 2017, they got to get them on campus pretty much whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, like I said, they like to, preferably, you'd like for these guys to wait until after the season. But obviously at this point, they don't have a lot of spots left for 2017 either.
Right.
Got a lot of them filled already, and there's a few that are, prominently still at the top of the wish list. You still got, Devon Hunter and Mekhi Becton, Tawan Garbett. Obviously, they still want to get back in the fold. So those kind of guys, I think you have to, if they say, hey, I want to take official this weekend, you don't want to dissuade them
right,
and not taking their official. But at the same time, for the 2018, 2019, of course, those guys aren't taking officials yet.
Right,
but,
yeah.
You'd rather those guys come for spring practice, come watch a spring scrimmage or a practice or something, or come for the spring game. And that's when you can really devote a lot more time to these guys.
So out of the list on the 2017s for the Hokies, how solid are they? Are there kids that are rock solid? Like, I mean, I'm thinking of like a Khalil Pimpleton. He seems like he's rock solid Virginia Tech. Are there kids like that? And then do they have some that are committed but they're soft? Maybe they need to still work on them?
Yeah, there's actually, most of the guys that are on board seem pretty solid right now. At least they haven't talked about visiting anywhere else. Khalil Pimpleton is the guy you mentioned. Hendon Hooker, actually, one of our analysts, Michael Clark, just went out and talked to him today. Got a picture of him decked out in Virginia Tech gear. So I think it's safe to say he's pretty solid. But then you've got guys like Malik Willis, who is definitely what we would call a soft commit.
Okay.
Because he is looking at other places. So I think he's going to visit a few other spots, but it's pretty much between Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech has told him they're going to give him the opportunity to play quarterback, and I think that's very appealing to him. Virginia Tech is looking at him more as an athlete right now. They're not sure exactly where they're going to use him. I think it'd probably be on defense. But it's appealing, and it's also appealing for him to stay close to home. He's a Georgia kid. Yeah. So to stay in state, to have your family be able to, go right up the road to watch you play is very appealing to him. And then with Andre Kearney, I don't think it's quite done there yet either. I don't know. He hasn't really specifically said a lot of other schools, but he has looked around and talked about visiting other places. So you've got a few guys that are still out there. We would have classified Tawan Garbett as that if he hadn't formally decommitted back in July. Right. But I don't think with those guys, Malik Willis is probably the one to really kind of be concerned about. Mm-hmm. That's probably the one that is, I think I know Georgia Tech's pushing him pretty hard, and he's got a lot of, support there home. That would want him to stay home and play at Georgia Tech.
I guess my question for Malik is, do you want to win or do you want to play at Georgia Tech? Can I say that?
I don't know. Georgia Tech's not that far removed from the Orange Bowl. They've had last couple of years haven't been that great, or even last year, I guess. But it's one of those downtown Atlanta. I think they can definitely get some guys there. They just haven't been able to yet.
Yeah, that's very true. On the basketball front, I know that Coach Williams has been out. He's been recruiting hard. Got some kids that have narrowed down to like their top 3, and I know Virginia Tech is in on a couple of those. Where are we at on the basketball side of things?
Basketball, this is going to be a very, very busy month coming up because they use these football game weekends as when they want guys to come in and check out campus and everything. Right. So it may be a football game, but basketball is taking advantage of that situation. Also, actually just got going over the weekend. They had 3 guys come and visit on unofficial visits. You had Lindell Wigginton, Devondre Perry, and Keontae Jones, who is Keontae Johnson's guy in 2019 class. Mm-hmm. He's a younger kid. But the 2 2017 guys, Lindell Wigginton obviously is the big point guard target right now. he and Wabissa Bede. Bede is a guy who had a really, really strong July. Was on their radar before, but I think really impressed them. And obviously, Virginia Tech and a lot of other schools ramped up their efforts in July. But those two are basically your top guys at point guard. They're looking at taking, it's definitely going to be one more take for 2017, probably two. They'd like a post and they'd like a guard.
Right.
They've got a hell of a scorer already in Nickel Alexander-Walker, who I think is going to be an NBA type prospect if he keeps developing the way he has. But with Wigginton, I think it's obviously good for him to visit at this point. He's got him in his top 7 right now, but okay. I don't know. I get the feeling that Oregon is probably standing out the most with him. He's got a few others that he's also in pretty well with. G.K. Obina is probably their top center target right now. They've had a few other guys eliminate them or go elsewhere. So it's looking like Obina. Still talking to a few other guys like Luka Garza, but I think Garza is going to end up using his last official on Indiana, and so they're not going to even get a visit out of him. So G.K. Obina is probably their best post target right now. But, these are guys who are going to be visiting at some point in September, so it's a very, very important month for basketball. They really, really need to get at least one commitment out of this month.
How important is it for schools to have a good football program that allows them to show kind of fan pride on the basketball side of things, and then obviously vice versa, because I know that we've seen several times from several schools where the football team will bring back commits in or recruits in rather to basketball games to kind of get that atmosphere. Is that a big one for schools to have solid programs on both ends?
I think it definitely is. You go back even on the basketball games, looking at football recruits.
Right.
That was when they got Taiwan Garbett. He basically walked in the gym. I think he already kind of had his mind made up. Walked in the gym, saw the atmosphere, and committed right there. Now again, he's decommitted and is continuously looking around still, but it does. It really gets on. It resonates. I think a lot when they walk in there and they see that atmosphere and think, "Man, this is the kind of fans, this is the crowd I can play in front of." And even as a basketball player, you see the passionate fans for football games.
Right.
It definitely translates over. You want a good fan base. You want to play in front of positivity. You don't want to be in front of some lame duck crowd that's not cheering. You want to be out there playing with these just really big-time atmosphere. So, I think absolutely basketball has and will continue to bring guys for football games, and football will bring guys over when they have junior days or whatever for basketball games.
One last question before we let you go back up on the elevator. From a basketball standpoint, is staying in state as important as it is in football? Because I get the feeling from this conversation that a lot of these guys, especially the top-end recruits, it's not necessarily as important to stay in state wherever that happens to be as it is to get to go to one of the bigger schools.
Yeah, basketball definitely doesn't seem to have as much of an impact. The elite guys want to go play at elite programs wherever they are. So, Virginia Tech has a few in-state guys. You've got Seth Allen, who's from up in Woodbridge, and Chris Clark over Virginia Beach. So you talk to those guys, they may tell you otherwise that, hey, it did factor in. Of course, Seth started at Maryland and transferred here to Virginia Tech. But I think it may mean a little more to those guys now that they're here. But as far as what went into their decision-making, on the basketball side, it generally doesn't. It just depends on the situation. There's a lot of kids who look more at staying regionally. They want to stay in the same, in this area, it's an ACC area, so they want to play somewhere in the ACC.
Sure.
So that way their family can come watch them. But as far as staying in state, I don't know if it has the same quite effect that the football side tends to.
Jason Stamm is with Scouts.com and the VT Zone. You can check them out on Scout.com. Just search Virginia Tech. You'll find it there. Any deals for our listeners this week? I didn't ask you this beforehand, so I'm just going to put you on the spot. Give my people a deal, Stamm.
Well, we've got the one we've been running. We got a free subscription to Tailgater magazine for our subscribers. Pretty much every day it's going to be a regular thing. Every day of the year now you can get 10% off tickets, 10% off in the fan store on gear. We've got some really good deals coming, including one from Sports Illustrated. We've partnered with Bleacher Report. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. But yeah, all of our subscribers get 10% off every day for gear, so you can get ready for the season, or for tickets if you haven't gotten your seat just yet.
Can you get me a pair of them fancy Hokie boxer shorts that you were wearing the other day?
I don't know. Those are custom made. I don't know if I can get those individualized.
Jason Stamm, man, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Lots of great information. I look forward to seeing you at the game on Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul.
All right, take care.